After several long months of protests in North Dakota, someone finally stood up. Someone wasn't just there for a photo op, i.e., Bernie Sanders. Tulsi Gabbard organized 2,000 veterans to go protest in North Dakota to put an end to the North Dakota Access Pipeline. And as a result of that, the Army Corps of Engineers finally decided to put their foot down. Not Obama. Don't give Obama that fucking credit. He doesn't deserve one bloody inch of it. No. The Army Corps of Engineers basically said, if we don't do something, these guys are going to get in a fight, and then the media organizations will actually have to report on it. And that's the moment you get riots on the streets, because the moment protesters get beaten up in America and the moment people find out what's actually going on in North Dakota is the moment people get pissed off. You have a pipeline that the company was so greedy, so frenzied for power, that even though they could have rerouted it, it would have been so easy to reroute it. Not an unimaginable thing. No, they decided that they were going to put their foot down and fuck if anyone stood in their way. The police in North Dakota, not their fault, they were ordered to, but the Republicans in North Dakota, they ordered police to basically tear down the protesters. And as a result of that, you had water cannons being used in freezing temperatures in the middle of nowhere, by the way. You had a woman who actually had her arm amputated because it was almost blown off by the water cannons. People being shot, pepper spray, all that kind of stuff. Very aggressive tactics over a goddamn pipeline? Are you serious? I mean, come on. This is like, you think you find this in a Saturday morning cartoon, not real world with real people. And the reason this happened is because a corporation was so greedy. You can be pro-business. You can still turn around and say, this is fucking over the line. Because it is. It's been over the line for a long time. Because they wanted to push it so hard. Who cares about what the courts decide? We're above the courts. Who cares what the politicians want? Don't care. We're just going to bribe a couple of them that do give us what we want. Who cares what human decency is about? Don't give a shit. And then Tulsi Gabbard got 2,000 veterans to go there and protest, and then they backed the fuck out. And then with that, the Army Corps of Engineers basically denied them the permit because the company backed out. That's basically it. Because the company realized, we don't want mainstream media attention on this. We don't want to get anyone knowing what the fuck we're doing because they're going to want to put our heads on pikes over this one. Rightly fucking so, because you're literal scumbags for what you're trying to do. The North Dakota Access Pipeline. Imagine if Flint, Michigan was about to be replicated, but for millions of people. That's kind of what you're looking at with what came close. So Tulsi Gabbard deserves a lot of people's respect for what she did. In a couple of days, she did far more than anyone else has. And for that, she deserves respect. She stood up, she fought, she won. That's the kind of person. And she did it with dignity. She did it to protect the dignity of a people who were having a pipeline built over grave sites. Christ, how much of a scumbag can you be? I mean, there are limits. I mean, it's right. And they had court orders. And we don't care what's a court orders and a gravesite. Who gives a shit? We're a company. Oh, God, that's... Whew. Whatever your perspective is on rich business people running a country, a corporation shouldn't do that fucking thing. And they shouldn't. I mean, I didn't mention it because what was there to mention? Yeah, they're scumbags. They're pieces of shit. And quite frankly, I just didn't see any possible solution because no one was really willing to actually do anything. Oh, to Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders got the photo up that you could share with some people online. That's it. Tulsi Gabbard actually did something. Hey, she had the power. She used it. That's what people do. That's what people that stand for something actually do. That's what winners do. People ask me, how dare you suggest Trump pick a Democrat for Secretary of State? I made that argument. I said she would be the perfect choice because she's the anti-neocon choice. She would be. She would be. She got. This is the sad part to Tulsi Gabbard. She's young, charismatic, likable, pretty sexy. Let's face the facts. She's really good looking, and a army veteran. Veterans of Iraq War consider it a disaster. Consider Syria a disaster. That's what I like about her. There's a lot to like there. She's a superb person. And if the Democrats weren't complete scumbags, they would run her in 8 years, not 4, because 4, you're going to have incumbency and all that. But in 8, they would run her, and they'd win in a crushing landslide. They won't. And they won't because they've already made the decision. How dare this woman stand up against her? How dare she not toe the party line? How dare she support Bernie Sanders when we are going to rig the Democratic Party primaries? Like, even Bernie Sanders bowed his head. Tulsi Gabbard never bows her head. They literally had to put a gun to her face to force her to vote Clinton. Pretty much. That's how far they went. Well, not quite literally, figuratively, but basically... they were breaking her arm for her to vote Clinton, and she went down kicking and screaming. She fought them every step of the way. She never stopped fighting them, and she got viciously smeared for meeting with Trump to tell him, "Oh, don't go with the neocons because that's a bad idea." Yeah, it's a bad idea. And there's a substantial amount of people online that support Trump. Like, yeah, pick her, put her in the cabinet. She would be a superb choice. Oh, and actually, I mean, look, Tulsi Gabbard would be a superb person for the Democrats to run in 8 years. She would win. She would. They won't let her do it. They will destroy her political career. The Nancy Pelosi's of the world will go after her viciously for this. They will make sure she loses. Even if it's not her state, even if she remains in Congress, they'll make sure she doesn't advance. She doesn't get the Senate seat. She doesn't get further than that. They will do anything and say anything to make sure she doesn't advance. Because she's a threat to the Nancy Pelosi's of the world. You don't stand up to the corporate class. You don't stand up against your elders. Fall in line, youngling. Fall in line. We know better. God. So this is my message, by the way, as a Trump supporter, I'm also a liberal, classic liberal. I think that's a label I'm comfortable with. I would say that the Democratic Party has no future. Anyone believing otherwise has ignored the fact Nancy Pelosi got reelected with ease, and no one stood up against Pelosi, except Tim Ryan. So, no future. The only hope anyone has for a better tomorrow is to make sure Trump goes down the right path. Yep. He met Al Gore just recently. You think Trump is, he's very ideologically driven. He ain't. He couldn't give a rat's ass about Republican ideology, but he's going to do this. No. If you think Trump is ideologically driven, you kind of missed the point, by the way. And I think, personally, knowing full well that they'll do anything and say anything to destroy Tulsi Gabbard's credibility, and they will, that what Trump should do, and look, there are emails, DNC emails saying, we are going to obliterate you. We're going to cut your donors. We are going to fuck you up. And she still stood against them. Damn, she's got balls of steel. I respect that immensely. Someone wanting to go against the system and spit in their face is someone I respect immensely. That's why I like Trump. That's a substantial reason why I like Trump. Trump's election, you know what Trump's election was? A revolution. In every sense of the word. Why? Revolutions typically are like 1-2% of the population deciding that they're going to do something, right? They go on the streets, they protest. Trump got 20% of the vote, right? Of all Americans. Like about 20% of all Americans voted for him to break the system. He broke the system. What did the Republicans have learned their lesson? They've all fallen in line. the even though there's some scumbaggery that Mitch McConnell and Ryan will try and do. Anyway, then there's, the fact is, as far as I'm concerned, it would be a crying shame if someone like Tulsi Gabbard, who actually stands for something, has principles, has values, has shown that she will fight. It would be an unimaginable political. It would be a historical disaster, and it's historical tragedy if she gets destroyed politically by the Democrats. So I would hope that Trump does take her in, and I would hope, if you want to talk fantasy scenarios, let's be clear on this. We're living in a fantasy. If 2 years ago you said Trump would be president, you'd be laughed out of the room. Though, there was always, personal take on it. I remember in 2012 when people were saying that Trump might run. Remember 2012 when he said might run? That was on the discussion. I was wondering, maybe he should. Anyway, so since we're living in a fantasy world, here's my fantasy, my whisper of a dream, if you want to call it that. Tulsi Gabbard, Republican president, 2024. How's that, Democrats? Enjoy. I mean, you've dug your own graves with this one. No offense. You're going to destroy the political career of one of your own because she dared to stand against the party elders. Well, you deserve it. It would be the greatest revenge, wouldn't it? Against the Hillary Clintons, the Nancy Pelosi's, and the Obamas of the world. So, good job, Tulsi Gabbard. Really. My respect for her has never been higher. Costine's signing out. And I actually still hope Trump picks her into his cabinet, at the very least. What happens after that? I don't know. Anything can happen, right?